All right, we are here in Clearwater, Minnesota, ahead of the Preserve Championships, kicking off the press conference with Tour Director Jeff Spring. Jeff, when you look around this place, what's the first thing that comes in your mind?
Progression. I think this is a sign of progression for the sport in terms of venue development. This is a great piece of property for us on the northern Mississippi River. Kale's done a great job developing it. Normally 3 courses, 180 acres dedicated to one course, thousands of people, plenty of room for vendors, spectators, big grandstands. It's a beautiful thing.
We've seen these Elite Series courses evolve. OTB changed, Portland changed. Now the Preserve has some tweaks. I mean, how crucial is that moving forward for the Pro Tour?
Yeah, I mean, constant evolution, continual improvement, core value of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So, we work with our stakeholders, our event teams, our partners, our sites to continue to evolve. I think this year, Kale will speak to it more. The course has gotten slightly tougher. He's making great improvements on like 2 to 3 holes a year, it seems like at this rate. Beautiful, like permanent tee pads that you'll see out here. And I think the most notable change is hole 11, which is now one of the best holes on the course from kind of like a tweener.
Nice. Take us back to 2020 when we didn't know what was happening. You talked to Kale, disc golf was back. You said we're coming to Minnesota. What were those early conversations like, and what has led us to this point?
Yeah, I mean, it was serendipitous. Definitely a lot of synchronicity in that moment in time. We had been talking about the Preserve before the pandemic suspended tour operations, and when it got going, the West Coast was still shut down. So, as I've said in the past, we moved to the Midwest Coast, and Doug Bjerkes and the DDO stepped up, and it was an easy choice to come up here, and didn't feel like a risk at all.
Super crazy busy stretch of the season. I guess it hasn't even stopped or slowed down. A major next week in Europe. And
yeah.
What do you envision the next month, 6 weeks looking like?
Yeah, it's a test for our team. We've doubled our staff. We're about 40 strong now, plus contractors and media regulars on top of that. So we're splitting our staff operationally. We've got some folks dedicated to Idlewild and D-Glow, some folks headed over dedicated to PCS Sula and the European Open. We're very excited for this test and confident going in. But for everybody on tour that's grinding out there, I know that choices are made for scheduling, and it's just, again, kind of the evolution of the tour. There's going to be big important events regularly, and players are going to have to pick and choose and elevate those tournaments with their presence as deserved.
Last one for me, we got M Worlds going on just a couple states over. 68 players in this field either play Junior Worlds or Am Worlds. What's the Pro Tour's plan to kind of cultivate this young talent that we see coming up that's ready to make the next step and ready to compete for an Elite Series win?
Yeah, I mean, it's so exciting. I love Am Worlds. I think it's one of the disc golf world's favorite events, and we watch it very closely. We want to, see who's coming up and who's next. The tour card was a big step in that development, developing, kind of like a good process and a kind of a qualifying tour is in our future. And I think that those players right now, they've been taking leaps. Gannon Burr, for instance, Prodigy event here, and he's the young Prodigy superstar. We see those names at those events, and then quickly coming onto the Pro Tour as more and more young stars emerge. I think we're going to just keep tweaking and formalizing that process of getting to the DGPT. Thanks, Hayden.
Hey, Jeff. A couple questions for you. Before I start talking about this tournament, I do have a question. Just wanted your background insight on a very, very strange situation that happened a few weeks ago. Haven't heard much from you about it. Corey Ellis, obviously, everyone's talked about it, had a putt fall through the bottom of the basket, which is, in my 20 years of playing disc golf, I've never heard of anything like it. And I just want to hear, when it happened and when you heard about it, what was your first thought, and what do you do about something like this?
Yeah, we had our team on site. I actually had been on site and left that day. Our operations director, Brian Cole, was on site with the tournament team and the tournament staff. So I did hear about it. I reached out and had a good discussion with the PDGA about it, trying to just make sure I understood our team's options. It was very clear that by PDGA rules, the putt didn't count and they played it correctly, regardless of whether he took a provisional or not, it would have been ruled the same thing. So I did talk to Corey about that, and we've had some discussions about it. You know, internally on our team, we've updated our standards to make sure that all baskets at our events are checked to make sure that they haven't been repaired, haven't been damaged. If they were repaired, that they were functioning properly. But, you know, our new standard is that if you have a repaired basket, we're going to replace it. The case in what happened in that moment was that, you know, BSF 2021 was actually canceled because of this huge ice storm. In the repairs, one of the baskets had sustained damage and was fixed. We were not aware. I don't even know if the tournament staff was aware, but, you know, upon this happening, we found out pretty quickly that that was through the park's communication what they had done. So I don't know that, you know, there's no blame for the tournament staff. If anything, you know, it's a learning experience for us putting a new tour standard in place. And then, you know, going forward, I know that a lot of fans were like, how is that, you know, how do you not have an opportunity to, you know, make a different ruling on that? So, you know, we have a great relationship with the PDGA. And, you know, on all rulings, you know, in terms of rules and decisions, we go through that relationship. But we do advise. And in this case, you know, me, just as a fan, as a tour director, I feel like there's room for consideration on that putt counting, and giving a tournament director a chance to make that call, I think, is something that I expect the PDGA to consider. We have a great rapport. We've kind of pushed that to them as one of several, you know, rule suggestions that we'll all discuss in the off season. But it was, again, kind of like a once in a lifetime. Like, you haven't seen it, I haven't seen it. Just super odd that would happen. And I certainly understand the fans, me being one of them, like, opinion that, like, man, that should have counted.
So then jumping to this event, and thank you for that answer, because I just wanted to know the background insight that you had. So jumping to the preserve, clearly someone's dream came true. Someone who's been in the game a long time.
Yeah.
He's won the Sportsmanship Award. He's someone that the players and the fans both love. Had his dream come true out here. And we have a property that's very suited for professional disc golf, for spectators, for vendors, just like you said. We're still, you know, on a different note, we're still dealing with some public courses on the tour and some of the Elite Series events. How long before you think we are going to get to a place where it's all of these sports-specific private properties? Is it in the pipeline anytime soon, or what's your thought?
Well, I think with everything, in terms of Pro Tour development, it's always baby steps. It's slow progression, making sure it's sustainable for us. And that progression's happening now. I think that the top level venues that we're going to are going to continue to see evolution towards private venues. But I wouldn't say that I see a future where it's only private venues. If you look at, you know, other examples in professional golf, you know, our brethren there, traditional golf, they play on some public courses. Pebble Beach is famously public. And I think that if you look at a great course like Toboggan, it's just about the relationship with public venues. If you have a strong relationship that's contractually you know, formalized, you can go to some of these great public venues like the Toboggan and Deglow, which we'll be at, you know, in July. So I'm excited to see the progression towards private, and I don't know what the percentage will end up being, maybe 80-20, but I do see some stalwart public courses, you know, as long as those relationships, contractual ability to really, like, take over the courses there, we'll still see some public courses hanging on.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.